Time for a bit of Chelsea, eh? Last season I made this video, a video about how Chelsea is a broken club when it comes to managers, and how Pochettino getting the sack would simply prove me right once again. Well, he wasn't really sacked, was he? But they still moved on and restarted the process all over again with a new coach, Enzo Maresca. Just as they have done over and over, new coach, new coach, new coach. But the other part of that is on the recruitment side of things, where Chelsea's actions are closer to talent hoarding than anything else. When you look at the young stars they have signed, they've done well to lock in some potential best of generation talents, potentially, right? Ask any reputable scout, and the signings of Esteban, video on him on my channel from before he was signed, by the way, or Kendry Paez for the future are incredible bets. At the same time, Moises Caicedo, Romeo Lavia, Cole Palmer, and others are youngsters who can absolutely leave their mark in the present as well, after previously being labeled as future stars. Those are just 5 names from a list of 34 players aged 23 or under that have signed with Chelsea since Blueco took over in 2022, just over 2 years ago. So from a raw talent point of view, Chelsea look like their future will be chocked full of it, right? Meanwhile, don't look now, but there's a container full of older signings and squad members that is about to burst open and cause a toxic spill at the club. Kepa is still around, goalkeeper number 347 currently on the books. Yes, they signed another one this summer. Lukaku is close to the exit, but still around. Sterling has caused a kerfuffle of sorts now. Broja is still there. This past week has shown what we already knew in some respects, but maybe underlined or highlighted it further. The job that Enzo Maresca has to do as far as keeping his squad happy, as far as juggling the morale of a gigantic bloated squad of players, is already massive. And then there is the whole footballing side to his job as well. To be honest with you, I do think that Maresca will end up being a good manager for Chelsea, and he will get this group of players, not the entire 30-plus player group, but a main matchday squad-sized group of players playing good football and potentially challenging for some cups this season. Cups. He's a good manager, and when you back a good manager in the market, as Chelsea are looking to do, then good things could happen. No guarantee, but could happen. So what happened with Sterling? He was part of Chelsea's preseason operations in the United States once again. He was mostly playing well and even scored against Manchester City, with new manager Enzo Maresca saying he is, quote, one of our most important players. Given Chelsea have such a youthful squad, having an experienced and proven winner like Sterling as part of their squad felt like it could be a good idea, even if he is a frustrating player on the pitch some of the time. Well, when it came around to match day, people noticed that Sterling wasn't named in the squad. Other Chelsea outcasts like Broja, Gallagher, and Lukaku weren't on it either, of course, but that's obvious, right? They're negotiating their way out. Sterling, however, was a bit of a surprise. Naturally, prior to the match, Maresca was asked, do you want Sterling to stay at this club? His answer, I want Raheem Sterling, but I want all the 30 players we have, but there is no space for all of them. So for some of them, they have to leave. Purposely vague, he didn't necessarily say Sterling has to leave, but purposely tight-lipped, right? What came next was quite the shock, as Sterling's camp, via the Daily Mail of all publications, given the history between that player and that publication, but they released a statement that read as follows. Raheem Sterling is contracted to Chelsea Football Club for the next 3 years. He returned to England 2 weeks early to conduct individual training and has had a positive preseason under the new coach, who he has developed a good working relationship with. He is committed, as ever, to delivering at the highest level for Chelsea FC and the fans who he holds in high regard, and given his inclusion in official club pre-match material this week, our expectation was that Raheem would be involved in this weekend's fixture in some capacity. As a camp, we have always had positive dialogue with and assurance from Chelsea FC in relation to Raheem's future at the club, so we look forward to gaining clarity on the situation. Until then, we will continue to support Raheem's desire to start the new season positively. That press release from Sterling's camp came out in the hour leading up to kickoff against Manchester City. So of course, with the match ending a couple hours later, came another opportunity to ask Maresca about Sterling again. He said that it was a technical decision, and there is nothing else to say. That was his answer that time. Pundits from Daniel Sturridge to Jamie Redknapp to Micah Richards all chimed in, all of whom being former pros, right? And they all agreed that this wasn't the right action for Sterling to take, with Richards saying, quote, "Raheem and his team know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to make noise. There's a lot of noise around the club anyway. Putting that statement out before the game is not good enough. That is not going to help his teammates and probably his case of getting back into the team. He's called his manager out and let his teammates down. That's my problem with it. He's better than that." What it does do for sure is draw a ton of attention to Sterling's situation, as he no doubt will want to leave Chelsea. Well, leave Chelsea with an asterisk next to it. You see, take note of the first line in Sterling's statement. Raheem Sterling is contracted to Chelsea Football Club for the next 3 years. That's kind of an odd way to open your statement, as it points to the fact that, everyone's minds go to the fact that there's still money on the table and Sterling isn't willing to walk away without it. It's reported that Sterling makes £325,000 per week, tied with Lukaku for the highest earner at Chelsea. Tally that up over 3 more seasons and you have about £50 million that Chelsea will owe Sterling in wages still. Now, on Chelsea's side of things, they claim that Sterling had a conversation with Maresca on Friday and knew what the situation was, so his reaction with the press release was surprising. Rio Ferdinand, however, claims that he heard otherwise. Take this how you will. Is Rio Ferdinand an incredible source? Maybe he is, as a former player who is well connected with current pros, or maybe he isn't, and he's just stirring things up to make Chelsea look bad. We don't know for sure, but here's what he had to say on this situation.
There's nobody delivering that message with any clarity, and from what I'm hearing, he's got no understanding of where his situation lies. He hasn't had anyone in the hierarchy come to him and say, "Listen, right, you're surplus to accounts. We want to get rid of you." And what I'm hearing is that the last conversation that was had was like, everything's fine.
But with who?
Not the manager.
And for what it's worth, and it's not surprising at all, but Lukaku also liked this post. So they have a big costly problem on their hands with Sterling now. Wait, this sounds familiar. Because clubs know that Chelsea are desperate to get rid of players, the bargaining power immediately falls on the buying clubs. This is what I like to call the crapload of corn problem. Let me explain. Hello farmer, I see you have a crapload of corn there. I'm a big fan of corn. Why yes, I do have a lot of corn. If you don't sell all of that corn, a lot of it will rot, right? Yes. Yes, it will. And that's not good to have rotten corn with your fresh corn, right? No, it's not. The rot can spread. I'll have to get rid of it. Oof, what a waste. Think of the resources you've already invested into growing that corn, harvesting that corn, processing the corn for sale. What a shame for you to waste it. I'll tell you what, I'll buy some of your corn, but I'm only giving you 25% of your asking price. But you know it's worth more than that. Okay, waste your corn then. I'll wait. So this is what's happening with Chelsea's players as well. The buying clubs know that they only have to play a waiting game with Chelsea in order for them to get some corn. Players. For cheaper than they may be worth. Certainly for cheaper than Chelsea paid for them. It goes in the other direction as well. Atleti said that they would only bend to Chelsea if they met their 60 million price tag, and now Chelsea have ultimately succumbed to that because they want to get Gallagher off of their own books. Well, now they have another player on their books in João Felix, so yeah, explain that one. I don't know. And if you can explain that one, explain it to someone like Raheem Sterling, who shares a similar-ish position to João Felix as well. The same position that Mudryk plays, or Pedro Neto, or Christopher Nkunku. Lukaku, he's another one that is kind of a ship with no anchor at Chelsea, floating around in the harbor aimlessly while he waits for some direction. It looks like Napoli, after getting skinned alive by Verona 3-0, are ready to make a move for Lukaku, while Victor Osimhen is expected to head to Chelsea by the end of the window as well, if the likes of Fabrizio Romano and the other transfer dudes are to be believed. Another one out, another one in situation. Not really getting closer to the goal here of cutting numbers. Then there is Armando Broja, who is also not listed in the Chelsea 31-man squad list. He has a lot of interest from other Premier League clubs like Everton, as well as clubs in Europe. Trevoh Chalobah is being forced out of the club as he isn't allowed to train with the first team. The signing of Tosin Adarabioyo, I said that wrong, underlining the whole no room for you Chalobah aspect. David Datro Fofana, remember him? The striker who went on a couple of loan spells since joining in January of 2023 will also need to leave, and a permanent move will likely be sought out by Chelsea after he's gone to Union Berlin and Burnley and been just okay. Another player who spent last season on loan, Kepa, is also needing to find a club as Chelsea already have plenty of keepers. David Sanchez, Petrovic, Jorgensen, who was brought in this season as well as Bergstrom, Bettinelli. Chelsea have keepers. It just depends on how much you want to pay for your corn. Know what I'm saying? Even someone like Ben Chilwell, who has been scorched by injuries, unfortunately, is becoming a bit of a backup at Chelsea and is a player that they could be willing to part ways with due to the aforementioned injuries that he picks up. Surely there's a player I missed in there. When you have 30 plus children, you'll certainly forget about one or two of them along the way. But certainly, you can see the mess that Chelsea have made for themselves. Not only do they have a big squad, which is difficult for anyone to put up with, but they have an extremely costly one, as they have signed some players to deals that last beyond 2030. All of those wages need to be paid one way or another, and Chelsea will be locked in further tug-of-wars with players who are owed large sums of money, but are ultimately unhappy with where they are in regard to playing time, unhappy to be sent on loan after loan, and the clubs that want to take them away want to cut price, so Chelsea will have to take the loss. Sterling's situation is the most notable given he's 29, a decorated Premier League player, and was an England mainstay prior to this past season, but he's the tip of the iceberg, and more situations like this are bound to follow at Chelsea. Thanks for watching, guys. It's fun to be back and creating content. I'm going to try to find a nice mix of timely content and some of those evergreen videos that you guys love and subscribe to me for in the past. I'm Adrian. This is Rabona TV, and I'll see you very soon with a video on a Bundesliga newcomer for this season. All right? Take care.